the heart, behind philanthropy, right? That business can be a real force for good, and something that we're seeing a tremendous rise in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Awesome Inc.'s podcast, where we highlight people pursuing their definition of, you guessed it, awesome. So buckle up and get ready for some more success story adventures and failures from Kentucky's tech and entrepreneur community. Everyone, thanks for tuning back into this episode of Awesome Inc.'s podcast. Insert the fanfare horn sound. There we go. Really excited to try and change up a bit. Liz is with me again. Liz has just become my partner in crime.
Again.
We say it, but when you got something good going on, you just keep it rolling. So we're going to be interviewing our boy from down under. Actually, he's from Kentucky. Ben from Louisville, Kentucky with Canopy. And I'll tell you what, he is mean on the craps tables. Fun fact, we never gambled together, so Liz, take it away.
Oh my gosh. Hey guys, it is Liz Brown Evans, as you said, back again. I don't know if it was a good or bad again. I'm with our Venture Labs team. We work with companies, established companies, not just startups and entrepreneurs anymore. We help keep them innovative. And Garrett has been graciously allowing me to bop on the podcast to bring in some of our friends to talk about innovation. But today, specifically, we're going to talk about what good business means in Kentucky. So Canopy has been a company I personally have been crushing on from afar for about 4 years, ever since I moved here. And I'm going to let you tell us what in the world Canopy is. But just know that we used to call them girl crushes in a college, which is like when you have a girl crush on another girl from afar and you want to be friends with her. Awesome Inc. has a girl crush on Canopy. Anyway, Ben Smock, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Ben, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what in the world Canopy is.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Garrett. It's a pleasure to be here today, and the feeling is mutual. We also have a crush on Awesome Inc. and everything that y'all are doing, so it's much appreciated, and so we're definitely in good company to be considered in that way. So my name is Ben Smock. I am the Director of Development with Canopy. Canopy is a relatively new startup nonprofit organization in Louisville representing the state of Kentucky. And our mission is to grow Kentucky businesses to positively impact people, our planet, and our future. So a little bit about me, as Garrett alluded to, I am not from Australia. I am from Kentucky, from Louisville. Had a 4-year stint in Lexington. Tell people I have dual citizenship because I have degrees from UK and U of L.
Which is controversial, to be clear, if you're tuning in from outside the state.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Capulets and Montagues, outside of the state for other literary folks. But I have spent the majority of my career in the nonprofit space, and my educational background is in business. And it's really exciting for me to be leading development work at Canopy and for Canopy as an organization, because I really see opportunity in the convergence of the business acumen that's necessary to run a successful business and what you need to position yourself to be attractive to consumers and job seekers and investors and so forth, and also to marry that with the heart behind philanthropy, right? That business can be a real force for good, and something that we're seeing a tremendous rise in, and it's something that Canopy is positioning Kentucky to be a leader in. So what is Canopy, right? So I gave you guys the mission. Essentially, Canopy is an organization that is responding to this global conversation. Basically, it's time for businesses to be better. The economy is supporting this shift, and Canopy is Kentucky's contribution to this paradigm shift that's redefining success in business to include positive social and environmental impact in addition to profit, right? So this new definition that capitalism has really taken on in the last decade refers to businesses not only needing to provide services, offer products, and create jobs, but they also need to positively engage with the larger social and environmental spheres, right? We see this from a consumer perspective. We see this from an investment perspective, and it really is just an important mindset for businesses to adopt intentionally and to continuously improve upon. So, as businesses are changing for the better, companies who are leaning into this are going to be the ones who benefit the most from these shifting tides. And, Canopy is representative, and our genesis is based on a couple things. One, Kentucky, and speaking lovingly from a native Kentuckian, Kentucky consistently ranks poorly in national metrics that matter, right? Whether it's fiscal stability, economic opportunity, mental health, education, we're kind of pretty firmly placed in the bottom 10 comparatively. And, what if Kentucky could be the first in something really transformative? What if we can be a leader, not just in our country, but globally, in what we call the good business movement? So that was part of our genesis. And also there exists opportunities and verified certifications for businesses that want to be this new innovative business model. And it's called B Corp, and we love our B Corp friends. And they are, really the gold standard for good business across the globe. And, this represents companies like Patagonia and Tesla, major employers and major companies that have a global footprint. And as listeners might imagine, there's like 475 on the West Coast. There's, 380 in the Northeast. There's about 120 in all of the South and 7 in Kentucky. So what that says to us is that Kentucky and some other smaller markets need a new tool to create that accessibility to the global good business movement. And that's really what Canopy sought out to do. So really our work in a nutshell is to accomplish several things. We educate. So we travel the state to educate diverse audiences of consumers, business owners, entrepreneurs, elected officials, college students, on the importance of this global good business movement and how Canopy is positioning Kentucky to be a leader in that regard. Next, we certify. So the Canopy certification guides Kentucky businesses towards achieving measurable social and environmental impact, operating with the highest ethical standards, and taking care of all stakeholders along the way. And then lastly, we're a connector. So we're creating a hub for Kentucky's business owners, social entrepreneurs, conscious consumers, nonprofit organizations, and college students, and so on and so forth, really creating that connective tissue so that everybody who's interested in the good business movement in various ways can plug in and understand how to do just that. So that's a little bit about me and Canopy. I hope that was all right.
That was great. That was great. And if I remember correctly, the tagline, which I love, is making Kentucky first in good business, right?
Yes. That's our vision, making Kentucky first. And, we're the first of its kind. So, that's what we're endeavoring to accomplish.
I think you guys have clarified going forward is you guys aren't just here to certify. You're not just here to give people like another stamp to put on their packaging. Yes, that is a part of it, right? Like I would encourage everyone next time you buy something at the store, like see if it has a B Corp sticker on it, right? Like be more informed about these things, but you're here to educate and to connect, which I think is huge. And I'm curious where I think there has been this sort of rise of conscious consumerism and even impact investing. That's a big conversation in the startup world as well. Do you see that conversation catching steam? I mean, you guys are at the center of it, obviously, but do you feel like it's an uphill battle? Does it matter whether you're in, rural or suburban areas? What is that looking like in Kentucky?
Yeah, all of these conversations and all of this focus on conscious business growth is moving from the fringe to the mainstream in many different ways. And so, the conversations that we have at Canopy from a consumer perspective, I mean, consumers these days are essentially demanding, that company leadership exhibits ethical behaviors, that they're paying attention to how businesses operate in terms of sourcing, employee practices, environmental impact. And, people are doing research to verify that businesses that they work for or buy from are committing to these things and actually doing it. So, the rise in conscious consumerism is not to be taken lightly, and especially with the emerging populations and the purchasing power that exists, businesses really need to be mindful about, how they continuously improve and how they, really are approaching a way to verify their efforts, right? And to get recognized for doing it, right? It's much more of the carrot than the stick. But consumers are really demanding this. And, we see our job to really create this roadmap to help businesses understand just exactly how to do it, right? Especially for like small businesses and entrepreneurs, you need guidance. And, that's what we're here to do. From an investment perspective, we see, and it's very representative in the conversations that we have, that there is this tectonic shift towards sustainable investing, and it's accelerating at a rapid pace. And so again, moving from the fringe to the mainstream, and there are large investment firms, nationally and internationally, that are essentially demanding, that their clients and that their portfolio is representative of ESG investments, and that in a certain amount of time, 5 to 10 years, if you don't have something intentional, then investors are likely to be less inclined to invest in your business. And so, it has come from folks like Larry Fink at BlackRock Capital kind of being out in front of this. And we have had some conversations with AppHarvest, which is an amazing Kentucky company, agricultural tech company that just recently went public. And, Jonathan is talking about the future landscape of these investments and what it can mean for Kentucky. When we talk about an economic driver in the state and businesses that are committing to social and environmental good, that's going to have a huge impact.
Yep. So you sort of mentioned, startups or small businesses. I think sometimes there can be a perception that the luxury maybe of something like having a stamp of approval or this time like that's for these big companies, right? Like that's for a Tesla, or our AppHarvest is small, but they went public, so they've got the investment dollars. But you got what size companies do you guys work with?
We predominantly work with small and mid-sized businesses across Kentucky. We do have some larger partners as well, AppHarvest being one. But what the majority of businesses in Kentucky are small and mid-size, and they are the businesses that need guidance and clear support when it comes to implementing or adopting this type of business model. They might not necessarily have a person or a department that is devoted towards doing this, and so that guidance is really essential. And I would say that that's really the niche that we've found ourselves in, is being that supportive infrastructure for entrepreneurs as they're getting started, for small businesses as they convert, and similar, kind of moving throughout the state.
I mean, I'm going to personally show my cards. Obviously, I said I have a girl crush on you guys, so I think I'm clearly in favor. But I do think that what makes me so excited about what you guys are doing is, I think for years, while this conversation has happened on the fringe, things like sustainability or, good business or doing things ethically minded, there's sort of like feel good concepts that like, oh, like that sounds so nice if you have the time, like I'm very busy running my company. And I think there is a level of truth to that, right? Like most small business owners don't have just hours and hours of time, but I love that you guys are making it not just in a, this is what you should do because it's good, which, to be clear, you should run your company this way because it is the right thing to do, but because there's business reasons for it. And so I want to ask a question that I think I've heard a lot of maybe like the naysayers ask, which is, okay, so that's great. What if everyone gets certified? Then does that set you apart? Like what even is the point here? If we're just doing this to get a stamp of approval, why do it at all? So I would love to hear how you guys kind of like break down those misconceptions.
We help businesses look internally and externally about how they can embed social and environmental efforts into their business model, not just because it's like the feel good, right way to run a business, because actually it leads to results that are incredibly important for a business. And I'll give one example that is, I think really great. Our founder's company is a janitorial service company based in Louisville, Kentucky, and they have about 800, 900 employees. The majority are janitors. And, Scott Collins is his name, as our founder and the president of FMS. Over the last 20 years, FMS has moved from a business that, was struggling financially. They had like $800,000 in long-term debt. They had very few clients. They were kind of losing employees. And, fast forwarding to today as a business that is thriving financially, that is, really winning clients and bids across the state, that is now an internationally recognized B Corp. I mean, Real Leaders Magazine, Scott and FMS is featured as like number 72 or something in like global companies in the likes of like Tesla and Patek. Like, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
The little old janitorial service that could from Louisville is doing all these amazing things, but just to
the little engine that could, I feel like.
Exactly. But they over time, what that has looked like, Scott and his team really creating a purpose-driven business, and that really looked like supporting his employees. And so this, born out of asking employees what they're looking for, how can we support you? And as you can imagine, I mean, janitors, there's an opportunity for financial support. There is an opportunity for holistic support in other ways. And so, the business now offers like free tax prep services, financial literacy classes. They have a subsidized CSA program every year so that employees have access to fresh fruits and vegetables for a family of 4. And they now have a new partnership with a nonprofit organization in Louisville that is designed to provide equitable pathways towards home ownership. And in doing all of these things, their turnover rate in an industry that has a crazy high turnover rate is a third, right? So they are keeping people because they support their people in so many different ways. They're supporting the nonprofit community too. So like the Fresh Stop Market that provides the food for the CSA, like they benefit from FMS hosting this, that their 800 employees. The local United Way and some others are benefiting from more recipients taking part in financial literacy programs and tax prep services. And, you see this symbiotic relationship happening for FMS. And because all of this amazingness is happening, they'll go to potential clients and they can lead with that and say like, hey, we are a purpose-driven company. Here's what we do for our team. Here's what we do in the community. And, these are all the reasons why you should work with us. And you would be amazed at the success rate that entails, leading with that heart. And they do a great job. They have shown up in a big way during the pandemic, and they have a great service. And, in leading a purpose-driven business, they have seen the business results, right? And so that's what we take to folks across the state, with their arms folded, like, okay, how's it going to show up on my bottom line? It's like, well, we will show you. And the exciting thing for us and for me is that data collection. So we endeavor to be the hub for data as it pertains to social enterprise so that we can, of course, measure the social and environmental impact, but also measure, profitability, employee retention, culture scores, to be able to say empirically, like, this is the way, this is what we need to do.
Surprise to the listeners, we do a prep session with each of our interviewees, but I'm going to say something that you said in our prep session that I just want to make sure it gets in here because I could not stop thinking about it. In this line of thinking, you said nonprofits are supposed to be the last line of defense and companies should be the front line of defense. And I think that is so powerful because I think we too often, we want to delegate responsibility for the health of society to someone else, namely to nonprofits who have low budgets and underpaid employees, instead of taking the responsibility on the front end.
I think one thing to that, just go back to Ben, what you said 10 minutes ago. You guys are about the accessibility to the good business movement. That's what that looks like. It's helping businesses think and actually be people-led. And then again, everyone behind that front line is going to support the movement.
Absolutely. And, think about like this on a spectrum, right? Corporate CSR from like annual donations to nonprofit organizations to embedding social and environmental practices into your business model. And so it's this creative challenge that is so exciting to me, that regardless of industry, business size, employee makeup, right, you can uncover intentional ways to support the community in which you operate, to support the environment, and it aligns with the work of nonprofit organizations. And to your point, Liz, like, yes, absolutely. Like, nonprofits are just seen as this savior, to come in and fix everything, but really they need help. And, it's not just money, although money is super important, but it's intentionality. And I think, with the adoption of the Canopy certification, with the adoption of these good business principles, we will be able to more effectively impact social and environmental considerations, because businesses will continuously learn how to build this into their models. It will be this continuous improvement process over time. It will never stagnate. You just get better and better.
I was watching some Instagram ad came on my phone the other day about some nonprofit that's cleaning up the oceans, which is great. We need them. But I just kept thinking they will forever be cleaning up the oceans until companies stop producing so much waste that's going into them. There's only so much that a nonprofit can do to actually move the needle. And that's where, and I think we saw it a lot last year in 2020. I think people are starting to realize you can vote with your dollar. And even, we all went out to, all the memes of can be a society savior by shopping local at I saw one that was used to when I go to a coffee shop, I'm wasting $5 on a matcha. But now when I go get $5 on a matcha, I'm saving local businesses. But I think there is a level of truth to that of it does matter where you shop and how you shop, not just where you donate. And I think in the past we have limited it to where we donate instead of how we behave in a capitalistic society.
There's a sincere affinity for nonprofit organizations. There's a willingness to support these efforts, and there's often, just not overwhelming resources, right? The saying goes, time, money, and energy, right? You can have 2 of 3 at any given time, and in your working years when you're younger and really starting to make your way, you are trying your best to earn money. You don't have a lot of free time, and so how can you support these efforts? And so, for me, it can be as simple as what you said, Liz, just going to a coffee shop that I know is supporting the local homeless shelter, or going to a coffee shop that I know is doing some amazing work as it pertains to racial justice, because I know I'm supporting that business, and I'm supporting a business that is doing things that is engaging the larger social sphere. And, people, the data behind this is crazy. 64% of millennials want to make the world a better place. 75% would take a pay cut to work for a responsible company. And so you start to see how much research is being done and how much thought is being put into all this. It adds up.
It's not just about an emotional argument. It is an economic, data-backed argument that it is not just making Kentucky first and good business, but it is good for business in Kentucky to be about good business. And I think we see similar arguments around, diversity in the workplace, right? It's not just because it's the right thing to do. It's because it makes better companies, better ideas, higher profit margins, happier customers. There are economic reasons why we should do this. And I'm maybe most excited to see what you guys do with the data you're going to collect over these next months and years.
Absolutely. So the data collection is super important. And, if I were to elaborate, on our 3-year vision, 10-year vision, it begins with the adoption of the Canopy certification and these good business principles to diverse industry and businesses throughout Kentucky. Then we start to collect the data. We start to see the social and environmental impact. We start to see the individual business impact. Over time, we start to amplify this collective impact. And when that happens, when we can say that we have 200 Canopy certified companies across Kentucky, and we have data points to suggest their efficacy, then we can take that to state legislators. We can advocate for beneficial legislation, tax incentives, procurement benefits for Kentucky businesses, and in doing so, completely differentiate Kentucky's economic ecosystem. We can start to be this premier spot for it that will be attractive to entrepreneurs. It will be attractive to job seekers. It'll be attractive to investors, and so like that's huge. And Kentucky would be the first state to really get that right. Imagine.
Well, Ben, as we kind of wrap up here near at the end, how can people connect with you guys? Like, what are y'all's priorities over the next couple months? And I want to make very clear, like, we have you guys on the podcast right now, because it, like you said, applies to startups and entrepreneurs. This also applies to big companies. And we work with both. We want to help both innovate. So we're talking to our listeners right now, no matter who you are, whether you listen to us because you care about entrepreneurship or you care about corporate innovation, Canopy Kentucky applies to you. So yeah, tell people how they can get plugged in.
First and foremost, in a super easy way, we are spreading our educational awareness across the state. So if anybody's interested in just following along in our work or learning about how they can plug into the good business movement, visit our website, canopyky.org. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can follow us on social media. There are ongoing opportunities to engage with the work in different ways. So a super easy way to get involved, follow us and check us out and make sure that, we're practicing what we preach, which we know we are. And then to the businesses and entrepreneurs out there, we are launching the Canopy certification this year. So we are interested in finding like-minded business owners and entrepreneurs that want to be part of this, that want to operationalize their good. So the Canopy certification is live. We're accepting applications. You can also, do that by visiting our website, canopyky.org. And for entrepreneurs out there, we are launching a scholarship initiative this year to help provide access to the Canopy certification. So specifically to minority founders, women founders, and LGBTQIA+ founders. If you're interested, we have some scholarship dollars available. So that's how I would say to get involved.
That's awesome. And we will certainly give you guys a shout out once this podcast publishes. But Ben, thank you so much for your time. I feel like I just am spoiled to get to talk to you about things that I think we're all really passionate about. So this has been great.
# girl crush.
We did say that you were going to come prepared with a dad joke. Is that the case?
Oh.
You played a big game at how good you are at them.
So okay, I did prepare. I was gonna wait to see if you offered it. So the recent dad joke was, why do we call money dough? Because we need it.
That's good. That's good. I actually had to think about that, but then I was like, oh wait, it's the spelling indeed. That's good. That's good, Ben.
It's never not the right time for a good dad joke. That's what I would argue.
Yeah, and to even further create an incentive to follow along in our work, we incorporate dad jokes in newsletters and social media posts probably more often than we should. So if you're into that sort of thing,
It's called brand personality. We love it. Well, Ben, thank you so much. We're excited to continue to partner with you guys. And everyone, please go check them out, canopykentucky.org.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Garrett.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Awesome Inc. Podcast. And another quick thank you to Lee Rosevere and a few members from our community who provide the music that you hear in this show. Lastly, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. Or, even better, come on down to our space. Come be a part of our community and get plugged in, and let's start something awesome together. You guys rock. We'll see you next time.